All right, so we're going to record some percussion with the microphone, and what I'm going to do is a shaker like this. You can use an egg shaker or anything like that, but this is what I have. Okay, this is just coming through the lav mic at the moment. Okay, very annoying sound. But what I've got is a condenser microphone here, and this is what I'm going to be recording with. We're going to do it a couple of ways, which I'm going to show you. Now, first off, I'm going to show you with the microphone just sitting here in the room, no treatment around it. Obviously, I've got treatment in the room because it's a mixing room as well. But other than that, there's no treatment around this microphone, and we're going to do that. And I'm going to see if hopefully it'll highlight the impact of having treatment around the microphone or not. And I won't know whether that's truly going to come out until I've actually recorded it. So it's a bit of a trial and error for me here. If it doesn't highlight an issue, then I've just proven to myself, unfortunately, that I didn't need to have any extra treatment and my room was fine. But if there is a benefit to the treatment, then we'll hopefully be able to show that in the video. Now, I'm not an expert percussion player. Let's just say that straight up. I'm not an expert in recording percussion. And this is a home music studio, okay? We're not going for perfection here. Now, if you haven't worked it out already, you can take these microphone recordings to the most difficult nth degree you want. You can get thousands of microphones, you can research everything you want. But I'm also trying to show and highlight here that you can also take it very simply. Get yourself a simple, pretty good, reasonably priced microphone. It doesn't have to be really expensive. And these should be able to do pretty much all of the acoustic instruments that you have or need to do. Now, are they going to be as good as you get in a studio, proper professional one? No, of course. They spend the millions of dollars, they get the great results. But I'm trying to prove here that you can also take a simple approach and not make things too complicated and get good enough results for your songs. Hopefully we'll achieve that in my song as it is. Now, with the percussion here, as I said, I've got a condenser microphone. We're going to do any sort of an example without any treatment. We'll do example with treatment. This microphone also has a high-pass filter on it. So I'm going to engage the high-pass filter at some stage as well to show what impact that has on cleaning up any rumble or noise around. There's also the high-pass filter on the audio interface that you can enable as well to do exactly the same thing again. So I'm not going to show you plugging it in, but obviously it's already plugged in. I've got it connected up to my second mic input on my audio interface. So we'll go and set up our tracks now, or our track, and then we'll start recording it. I'll probably do it as multiple takes on the same track just because I don't need all of those recordings. I just need maybe one or two, and we'll see how we go from there. Yeah, we might do a couple of takes just to enhance it or something like that. But we'll see what we can get out of this and just do the best we can. As I've also indicated, when it comes to the samples or the virtual instrument style things, it's really fun to record percussion and stuff with a microphone, but at the end of the day, you may find that it's easier just to grab some samples, especially for something as simple as a shaker. It's not that unique an instrument, really. The patterns are usually pretty simple. So to get a pre-recorded sample that already has the effect saves you setting up microphones, saves you all of that time and effort. But it is fun to do, and it's a great learning exercise. So I definitely recommend trying it out for yourself, going through the experience, having a bit of fun doing it, and recording all your elements live. And feel free to even make your own samples from them so that you can reuse them song after song if you so choose. But let's go check it, set up the tracks now, and then we'll come back and actually do our recordings. All right, so we're over in Cubase now, and we're going to set up our track for percussion. So percussion, obviously this case here, we are doing mics. We've already got a few percussions here, virtual instruments, and samples, or a sample, tambourine. So the next one we're going to do is the shaker, which is going to be our microphone. So with the microphone, it is an audio signal. But this time we're going to pick our microphone input, which in this case is labeled as DI, just in my case. It's mono because it is a microphone. It's just a mono mic. And the bus is going to be percussion. And instead of calling it like, you know, acoustic or real, we're going to actually give it its name. So I'm going to call it shaker. We're going to add the track. Okay. And we'll give it our color, which is this sort of navy, well, not navy blue, but lighter navy blue. And I'm just going to drag it so that it goes under the folder. You'll see it's not quite under the folder. That way, when we collapse the folder, they'll all disappear. All right, so we've got that set up and that's all set up. We're pretty much ready to go. This is exactly the same as anything else we've done with the microphone or even a line in type DI. You know, there is no difference whatsoever. What we need to do is have a look at our audio interface. And we want to unmute this track here. Now, in my case here, okay, this is where microphones come into play and where things come different. We do not want the sound of the music playing in the room. All right, we are recording with a microphone now, and it is not close to a guitar amp or anything like that. So we do not want the audio playing in the room live. So I actually have my audio interface muted so that nothing will come out my speakers. This means I need to obviously be wearing headphones so that I can hear this. And as I've shown before, I have my isolating headphones that I'll be using. They cut out a lot of the sound in the room so I can hear truly what is being recorded. And we obviously want to unmute this track here because we could turn the monitor on here and listen to the sound of the audio through our DAW, but I don't want to do that because, as I've explained before, that has latency, whereas listening direct through my audio interface does not. It's called like direct monitoring. So we need to set this up so that it's ready for recording our percussion. So in my case here, we have the condenser mic, which needs 48 volts. So we need to turn the 48 volt power on, and we will need to crank up the gain. Now to do that, we obviously need to be playing into it while we do it. So that is going to make it a little bit tricky, but we need to be sort of near the mic or go backwards and forwards, however you want to do it. You know, it depends where your mic is compared to your desk, etc. So we can go between the two and get our levels right. So we'll do that now. Okay, so now that we've got our gain setting correct, we're pretty happy with it. 48 volts is on, as I said. I haven't turned any high pass filter on yet. We'll probably do that in our examples there. So we might even do it on the microphone instead of the audio interface this time, or we can do both, you know, whichever. But at this stage, we'll just go with that and we'll close that down. So we're basically ready to record now. It's just a matter of getting in there and starting to record. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so with percussion, or especially a shaker, there's probably a couple of ways we can do this. And again, I said I'm not an expert in recording percussion, so we're going to try our best. here's the mic here, right? So this is basically the front to me. So generally when you're playing a shaker, you're doing that sort of move. Now, we could do it two ways. We could be back here and hit into the mic, and that's going to accentuate every one of those forward moves. But it might make it a little bit up and down, because as it comes away, it gets further away from the mic, more distant. You could go sideways, but then having it sideways may not sound right. You could do it this way maybe. That way, it's not moving away from the microphone. You're keeping it consistent to the microphone. You could also go maybe on an angle, so that you get a good compromise of both. And I'm thinking I might go sideways because I just want to keep it fairly consistent and try and use my movement of the device, of the shaker itself, to create that loud clack, as opposed to me moving closer to the mic and then further away. But, you know, as I said, I'm not an expert in percussion techniques, but these are the obvious ones to me. It's just about placement of the mic. So I'm going to go sideways, and we'll see if we get a decent result with that. So now, got to get our headphones on, all right, because obviously we have no sound in the room. It is purely just the sound of this in the room and me talking, and we're going to put our headphones on and start recording. Okay, so that's our first take. I think it sounded pretty good. I didn't mind it. The pattern seemed right, seemed to go with it. Hopefully it will come across well. At the moment, we have no high-pass filter on. We have no treatment around it whatsoever. So what I'm going to do now is, and I need to take a break between each one because that hurts the arm doing that a little bit, especially you got weak muscles like me. But what I'm going to do now is we'll just do that part for the several takes, and then what I'll do is I'll basically go with my final setup for the rest of the parts, the verse and the out bits. Because my final setup is going to be using a high pass and putting the treatment, because it just makes sense to do that to me. It's just a logical approach. But I wanted to give an example of not with and with. So we'll set it up now. We'll set up another take, and this time we'll just turn on the high pass filter on the mic and we'll do another take. Okay, so that's another one there. You also have to be careful not to hit the mic. I think I did the mic at the end then. That's not good for recording if we hit the mic, but these things happen sometimes. So what I'll do now is, I guess we'll do 3 takes. This one here, I'll also turn on the high pass on the audio interface. So we've got it on here, got it on the audio interface. I don't know what impact that's going to have because it depends on what values they both are, but we'll do it anyway. All right, so now we'll set up some treatment and we'll have a look at doing that. I'll leave the high pass filters on just because that's what I'm going to do anyway, and we'll see what we get out of this last one. This will be my final setup. So once I've done this, we'll just record the part all the way through and then we'll compare them, and I'll try to make examples of them using compression to sort of boost and flatten things out to show the differences between them, hopefully. All right, so the first thing I want to do with treatment is that now I'm going to say in an ideal world, I would have a proper surround as I've shown in my PDF book. I don't have one. I just haven't felt the need to purchase one for, well, the main reason is, well, partly to save money, but the other main reason is I just don't use recording microphones in my home studio enough anymore to justify buying it, you know. I hardly record using microphones because I don't sing. I hardly record instruments like guitars or anything because I don't do much acoustic guitar work. I don't record much percussion work anymore. I did in the early stages, but I don't anymore. So it really wasn't justified. So, but I still wanted to be able to do it occasionally if I needed to. Now, again, as I said, I should buy a proper one, but I don't. And what I did was I just grabbed a piece of this foam that I had spare laying around, and I actually put just some like shoestring ties around here and actually cut a slit down the middle. And what that allows me to do is to actually, if I put the string, so let me get it in a position where you can see it on the camera. I put the string over the microphone here and I just slide this slit over the mic stand here, and it comes down here. Now, I could push that down there to go around it, but basically it just ends up sitting there like that if you imagine it on the back. Okay, and these strings just basically hold it sort of in a roughly curved shape. As I said, it's a bit of a hack, very cheap hack, because I already had the foam, so it really cost me nothing. But even if you wanted to buy the foam, it's probably a few dollars, nothing much there. But I do recommend getting one of the proper ones if you're going to be serious about recording vocals and percussion and whatever else, you know, instruments a lot. Now, this is going to be pretty awkward for me to show on camera because I'd have to really probably turn myself around to get it in a good spot to show me recording this. But I'll try to do it like that for the moment. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I have these panels that are on wheels. I have a picture of them in my book, right? So it's panels the same as I've got on my walls, but in a frame that is on wheels, freestanding, that I can roll around and move. So I'm going to actually place that behind me. just so it's gonna stop any reflections going past me and bouncing off the wall, and we'll get our recording like that, right? So with the second one here, we can really sort of encase ourselves a little bit. You know, if I had 3, I could really get in, but I don't have 3. I don't have a room big enough for 3, to be honest. So I have 2. So if I sort of prop myself in the corner here, and we had our mic the right way, I've turned the mic deliberately for the camera's point of view, but realistically, if I had the mic this way, you would probably see the back of the foam, which is not going to make for a great video. But anyway, so we're stopping sound going through that way, and we're stopping sound going through this way, because what happens is they bounce off the walls, come back into the microphone. So we're trying to avoid that. So let's do it this way with this setup, and we'll be good to go. And I may do a proper recording with this turned around off camera, just so it's in exactly the right place, but you'll get the concept of what I'm doing here. All right, so there you go. So I'm going to record the rest of the parts now, and actually I'm pretty happy with it that way. It actually worked quite well, shaking it across the front sideways instead of having it facing me and going sideways myself, because I could go forward and back, which was actually good placement. So it worked out quite well. So I'll record the last verse and that and chorus, and then we can compare the differences. Okay, we'll do that last outro bit again because I forgot the pattern because I was switching between patterns and absolutely forgot it. I just put a bit extra on the end there just so that we had a little bit of leeway there to fade it out or chop it or whatever we decide to do. when we actually start getting into a little bit of editing in a moment. All right, so now that we've got the bits recorded, let's go and edit and check out the examples to see how the treatment and the high-pass filter impacted it or not. All right, so now that we've got our shaker recorded with our microphone, let's check out those versions and see if we can hear the difference with them, with the different settings there. So we're going to start by soloing our shaker because we want to hear what we actually recorded. Okay, so let's start with our number 1. So before I do anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, actually, I'll put a little bit of gain on here. I could do it on the actual track itself, but then I'd have to do it on each take. So I just want to do it across the board. Just so I get it nice and loud for us. Okay, I probably won't do it this loud normally. I'll have to remember to take that off. All right, so this is number 1. But what I want to do is, because what's quite common is that you might put a compressor on here. We could pick any compressor we want, really. So many options, but you know what I'm going to do? I think what I should do is just use the standard. Just use a standard compressor in Cubase. I've got to do a fairly heavy compression there. I want a quick attack. I want to really flatten this out a bit. All right, we'll get a fair bit of compression going. So that's bypassed. Oh, I was going to say they don't have makeup gain, but they do. I just want to get the levels. Okay, so we've got some compression going on there, trying to level it out there. So let's go from the start. So you can hear, in this case, it's got you can hear the low plasticky sound of it. And you can hear me sort of bumping the mic occasionally. So switch over to number 2, you can hear straight away it's higher pitched. Now number 2 is with the high pass filter on the microphone. Go to 3, which is high pass on both the audio interface and the microphone. Now, there are going to be variances of where I've held it towards the microphone and that sort of stuff as well. Okay, so that is pretty hard to tell, but Okay, so in Cubase, I couldn't really show the impact of it because it is very subtle. It's actually a lot more subtle than I thought it was. It may have more impact when you actually are playing the audio, and it may depend on the instrument itself, how much impact it actually has. But if we have a look here, I've got it opened in Isotope RX because we can see the spectrum graph, which we can't really hear this, but we can see it. So some of this may be audible, but it gives us an idea anyway. So Shaker 2 here is actually the recording, the first one we did, okay? So if we go back to number 1, you'll see it says Shaker 2. So this is the one without any treatment whatsoever. And what I'm looking for here is you can see, especially see this low rumble. This bright orange bit here is a high level of sort of rumble that's going on down the bottom. And this blue stuff here is all noise. That's where I sort of maybe move the shaker. And that's obviously the waveform of me playing the shaker. All right, and we can zoom in and have a look in greater detail if we so choose. And you can see that line down the bottom there. Now, when we go to number 3, that is with the high pass on the microphone on. And you can see it's not as bright. So it has cleaned up a little bit of that low end, right? But not entirely. It's still there, okay? And that is rumble that you don't need because that is really low. That is well below 100 Hertz. Now we go to number 4 where we have both the high pass on the mic and the audio interface. You can see it is now gone. So probably what I would just rely on is the high pass on the audio interface, and the high pass on the microphone is not so critical because the audio interface will take over anyway. But having it on both, not a bad idea. It seems to work, right? You can see how all that rumble there is just gone, and it's nice and clean over here in this silence bit. And then we go to number 5, which is with our treatment. And again, it's still clean because we've got the high pass on. It's a bit vague to what it's doing because I'm not seeing any example here in this silence of any improvement. If anything, it potentially looks like it's got a little bit more noise in it, which is really weird. But I don't know if that's some other factor there or not. Now, if we actually zoom in on a waveform, just see if we can see anything majorly different between them. And I don't know if we will. I think the impact is so subtle in my room that it's not that obvious. But again, it may be because it's such a quiet instrument, the shaker, that it's just not getting the reverb off the walls. And maybe we need to do this example with a louder instrument, which we will do. We'll do this example again with an acoustic guitar and maybe even a vocal as well, just to sort of see if we can see the impact. But we can definitely see a major impact on the high pass filter. That is definitely something there because you can see all that rumble there. So anyway, didn't come out exactly as I'd hoped, and I was hoping that we could hear it, but it is very subtle, so it's very hard to hear. If you had a sub on, you would probably hear that low end rumble, and that would be really annoying. But just through headphones and things like that, you probably won't notice it. But anyway, that's our examples. So what we need to just do is finally go over and finalize our tracks here. So I'm actually going to get rid of the first 3 because I want to keep the one I did at the end, which is this one here. This is with all the high passes and all the treatment, and I'm going to edit it just to tweak it up. Now I could go in and I could use hit points and things like that to try and get them all on the beat and exactly aligned, but I'm not going to do that because I think the performance was good enough that I'm happy to just run with it. Let me just get this gain down because I did try and boost it quite a lot and we want it down to 0. Alright, so we're back to 0. That is fine, and let's take this compressor off and we'll put our gain back to 0 there. Okay, we'll put this up just so we can hear it. Now we'll just trim the start first. Just zoom in here. Probably going to trim that bit there just so we get that. Okay, let's just get to the end there because we had the other recording over the top. So that sort of cut it out there, which I didn't obviously want. Okay, we'll just put it there for now. Let's just... Still not sure what I'm going to do there, but where's the end of this thing? Let's bring that back a moment. Okay, let's just see what it sounds like if I do that. Or if I bring it back out. I think trimming it there will be fine. Okay, so I am happy with that one, and now let's check out our next part. Okay, I guess that's where we want to start. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Maybe we do want a gap there. What if we did that? And then this one comes in. Do it the same way I did it before, where I sort of faded that bit in. Okay, I'm not sure about that gap there, because we could let it keep playing. Okay, we'll go up to there, or at least fade that last bit out there. Maybe it should stop with the other percussion. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it like that for the moment. I'm still not sure about this middle bit. I think it needs that clear split, to be honest. Yep. All right. So I'm happy with that. It's going to save that. And it's all about volume now. Okay, it's pretty subtle at the moment. We'll deal with this more in mixing. I just wanted to get it in there. And shaker and tambourine are the sort of instruments that I prefer to sort of feel than hear outright. It's hard to explain that. I don't want it so obvious that it's just, I can hear it and it's driving me insane. I want it to add to the music, but not be so obvious that I can go, oh, look, there's a shaker and it's really loud. Sometimes that means that you may not even feel you notice it until you mute it. But as I said, we'll deal with that in mixing. I just wanted to get it in so it was ready to go. And we have it sounding pretty good. I think it sounds okay. Like if we solo it. Is it the best recording of a shaker? No, maybe not. But you know what? It does the job. We might want to gain stage a little bit here. This one here looks a little bit lower than the other one. I must have been a bit further away from the mic. Let's just have a look. So this one's sitting about there. So I've just boosted a little bit just so it sits more in line with that one there. This one's a little bit different because you've got those snaps and then the quiet bits. This is where a compressor would come in handy, just to take the tops off those snaps and bring up the lower ones. But right now we're not going to obviously worry about compression because we're going to do that in mixing. Okay, let's get that volume back down somewhere. We'll go about there. And also when we pan them, if we pan them left and right, they'll start jumping out a little bit more as well. All right, so there we go. I think we're done with percussion. So now we'll move on to our next element. All right, now that we've got all our percussion recorded, let's have a playthrough and hear how our song is progressing with all of our elements in and all of our percussion. We'll go from the bridge where we have started percussion to save listening through to the whole song entirely. And we'll just get an idea of how our song is going and how it's building up. All right, so again, now that you've seen me do it for real on my song, I would like you to now go to the PDF, grab the worksheet, write down all the parts that you feel you need to create for your song, and go and start recording. Mark the status of them down on the worksheet and marking them off as complete as you go through them. If you do have any questions about percussion or the recording of percussion, etc., or any of this stuff in this video, please feel free to put it in the comments below. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.